interest in this product. This is a video tutorial about the Communicator script asset for the Unity Asset Store. First, let me show you how this works. Here we have cannons that create boxes and create drops, and we have the count of every existing drop and every existing box. They are created and destroyed at runtime, and when we do left click, drops will go away from the clicking world position, and boxes will go for that point, towards that point. So what is happening here is that we are using a single event, and entities are reacting different to the same event. We can also create drops using our right click, and we can create boxes using middle click. We can change also the speed of the system by using the space bar. And here we can see how things are happening in our system, because I have enabled printing for all connection, disconnection, and emission of events. Here I have, for example, Game Manager is connected to drop created event, and here is connected to some other events, and here I have when an entity emit an event and when another entity receive that event. So in this system you can have multiple emitters, and you can have multiple listeners, and they can exist and then be destroyed, and it doesn't matter, because as we are connecting through events in this way, if you remove an element from the communication system, nothing wrong happens. So how do we set this up? Well, let's first look at how we are setting up this here. We have our game manager that controls all the logic regarding drops and boxes count. In game manager is where we do the creation of bullets. So here we have the prefabs that we use for that. You have to drag them in there. We have a reference to our click effects, that is a particle system. Then it is created when we click, and it has this script that we're going to see right now, where we ask if the particles are playing, and if it has stopped, then we destroy the game object. Okay, so let's look at our code. First, we have to create the signals. The signals are the managers of listeners and the manager of callbacks, and each event uses a particular signal, because each signal uses different parameters. So for example, and we can use these classes, for example, FW signals means framework signals, because this is a signal that uses a vector tree, and and uses a position. It refers to a position. So a signal that uses a vector tree as position is something that you will probably use in many of your games, so you can include that in your framework signals. And here we're using a signal that uses the vector tree parameter. All of these signals with different parameters all inherit from signal base that that has the core functionality of the system. Here we also create a constructor that uses an event name, and we create our custom emit params method, so we can describe parameters. For example, here we are indicating that this is a position, and then we pass this to the emit method of our base class. For signals that are specific to this application, we have, for example, we have here, no, not yet, game signals. Well, in this case, we have one class that we created for our framework, but you can have many in the same class. That is what I recommend. Here in game signals, we also have one, but we could have much more. Many more. I mean, here we have signal bullet that uses a game object and two vector tree. We create our constructor and we create our emit params method, where we describe that this game object is a bullet prefab. A bullet is the superclass of drops and boxes. So you know, so these bullet prefabs have that script, are either drops or boxes. They use the class drop and the class box that inherit from bullet, as you can see here. So going back to here, we have that the first vector tree is a position for the bullet to appear, and the second vector tree is a position for the bullet to be directed to. The bullet is going to travel in that direction. So now that we have created the signals that we are going to use, we have to create the signal events. These are the specific events that are going to happen, and that we are going to have listeners and emitters for those events. Let's see, for example, our framework event, our framework events. We have here a on mouse left click as our event. This is this is a signal position, a signal position signal that we created before, and we use this name mouse click for this event. Here we have game signal events, and here we're using for drops we didn't create a special signal. We are just using a signal with a parameter drop. So this signal is going to require a drop reference when it is fired. And here we're putting the name of our signal event. When we do this, we are not going to use a argument name, but that is not necessary if you think it is not going to be confusing. In this case, you know that if you're using a signal of that requires a drop parameter, it is obvious that we are referring to the drop that was created. In the case of drop destroyer, we are using a signal simple, that this signal is created in our base signals file. So basically, it is a signal